Okay folks, I'm going to talk you through using Vevox as an application to get opinions from kids. So, question is, why are you wanting to use it? Well, ultimately you're going to get every student participating, whether they're in the classroom or you're having to do this during lockdown. It really does encourage everyone to participate, not just your usual suspects. It is a really fast and efficient way of getting feedback from your class, and most importantly, it only takes a few seconds for you to set this up and create a poll. You can see how much your classes understand, you can instantly identify any gaps in their knowledge and tackle that. You can also use this to target set the classes in front of you. And finally, and I found this incredibly useful, you can gauge the mood of the class by creating word clouds and let them see that as well. So let me show you what this actually looks like. So I'm going to come out of that and go into Vevox itself. So you create and set up your own account, and you can pay £60 a year if you want to have your a full all singing and dancing Vevox account, but I just use the free one. Once you've set it up, you will create a meeting and call your meeting whatever you want. As you can see, I've already set one up that's called the higher check-in and target setting. I'll create another one just so you can see what it looks like. So S4 target setting. Okay. So there it is, and you can view meeting. Once it's loaded, it's up to you what you want to do. You can do polls, you can do question and answering and surveys. I have to be honest, the only one I've really used effectively at the moment is polls. So I'm going to come back out to show you one that I have already completed. So if I go back to home and I'm going to go into this one, I've actually used this one with my higher class already. So I set a poll up, having finished a couple of units with them. I wanted to get a feel for how confident they felt. So I created 5 questions for them to answer. And you can see here, if I open on this one, so how confident do you feel about issue 3, which was women in the vote? And I gave them options. They could click on very confident, confident, unsure, or very unsure. And from what you can see here, that the majority of the class are feeling confident about this particular issue. I did the same for issue 4 and for their higher history SE skills. And then I got them to target set themselves. So I wanted them to give me an idea of what grade they would give themselves. I put for this term because we're trying to keep it realistic at this stage. So I gave them all the different bands. And again, you can see that the majority of my class are hoping to get somewhere around a B band 3 this particular term. And then they got to put down here how they were feeling about school. Now, I didn't give them any options. I said they could choose up to 3 words and they can just type them in, and you can see here all the different words that they've chosen. So there's a number of things that you can do with this. When I go to data, after I have set this up, I go to data, and you can see that I had a number of participants was 26, and they all completed it. And this gives me a summary of all the questions and how the majority of the class have voted. So I can see here issue 4, although I have a majority of the class confident about my issue 4 topic, there is still a level of uncertainty which I'm not happy with. So I know I can go back and deal with that at a later stage. In terms of the higher history SE skills, again, the same kind of information is coming out. So I know that we can't just leave that skill knowing that the whole class is confident, because they're not. We've got our target grades here, and this I really like, because this is the word cloud that gets formed. Once the children have put in the up to 3 words that they feel relate to how they're feeling about being back to school, it will pop up as a word cloud, and you can see an example there. Obviously it's anonymous, so you're not tying words to particular pupils, but it really does give a sense of how the class are feeling, and I think it provides a level of security for some, knowing that they're not the only ones maybe feeling overwhelmed or anxious, tired, etc. So I find that useful. However, it does actually get a bit better, because from all this data, if I scroll back to the top, I can download something called a data report, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. So it downloads as a spreadsheet. Now I've darkened out the names of the pupils involved, but here you've got the questions that I asked and their responses. So if there's a particular pupil I'm worried about or unsure about, then I can go to them in particular. But one thing I really liked is once I had sort of given an overview of how confident my classes were feeling, I hid the questions about how they were feeling about certain topics, and I looked at what their bands were, and I also looked at how they were feeling in general. And on the whole, it didn't massively surprise me. But there was one here, for example, that I was worried about. This particular pupil, obviously she's given herself a band, but she's feeling really not good at the moment. So this allowed me to actually have a quiet discussion with her to sort of ascertain exactly what the problem was and how I could best support her. And I think to be able to do this whole poll with the class took 5 minutes. And from those 5 minutes, I've gleaned a huge amount of information that would have taken me periods, I think, prior to this. So that in a nutshell is what Vevox does. But if I go back and I go back to home, I'll show you how to set it up very quickly. So here's the one I set up, S4 target setting, and I'm going to view meeting. And at the moment, there is nothing there. I'm not going to create a big poll because I think you'll get the gist of it once I've just done one. So if I hit create new poll, I'm going to call it multiple choice, and I'm going to put my question in here. So again, how confident do you feel about, and I'm just going to call it issue 1. And then here I can just put my options that they will see when they get onto this. So excuse the spelling. Right, so there it is. There's no correct answer because I'm wanting them to choose how they feel, and I add it. And there it is. If I wanted to do a word cloud, that again is really straightforward. You can see you've got different things here. I'm just going to click on the word cloud, and my question will be, how are you feeling? Again, sorry for the spelling, about being back at school. And now, depending on the class, you could put up a number of options for them. I've never done that. I've let them choose their own words, but you could potentially put it on the board, on your whiteboard, and just write up some possible options. But I think the kids, if you're doing this from 4th year upwards, they tend to they can express themselves quite well. So I'm going to add that. So I have got a poll question, and I know this is a word cloud one because it's got the wee cloud. The important thing to do now, once you've created your poll and you're happy with your questions, is I need to go into settings. Now this really is important if you want to use it for target setting, because it's got profiles on and profiles off. If your profile is off, it means it will be anonymous, so you can ask questions about their targets, but it will come back and you won't know who's attached to which target. So you need to turn the profile on. And what that does, and now once you've saved it, is when the pupils log in, they will have to add their name and their first name and their last name. And of course that therefore gives you a much more clearer view of who is saying what. Now, if I go back to home and I'm happy with my poll, the kids are now in the room and I want to set this up. So I will click on view meeting. It's all ready to go. I'm going to assume I've got more questions there. And up here we have got options of pause, play, stop. So I'm going to press play. So it says starting this meeting, I'll put my higher one into waiting state. That's fine because I've been playing around with my higher one. So I've started the poll, and what the kids have to do is they will, actually no, I have to start it again, sorry. So I've pressed play, and now I have to go down to present. It will come up as two options. I'm going to open in a new browser tab because this is what I put on my smartboard. So the pupils will see that they need to go onto their phone and join at vevox.app, and they type in that ID number. The QR code is there, but the last time I tried to use the QR code with my class, it wasn't big enough and they weren't able to scan it effectively. So the fastest, most efficient way is just getting the vevox.app web address up and then popping in their ID. And once they've done that, you are able to then run the actual poll. So I might be able to show you what this looks like if you give me 2 minutes, because I'll need to set it up on my phone. So as I've said, I did all of this with my higher class, and it took no more than 5 minutes to ascertain how they felt about certain things and also get their target. So that was incredibly important. Right, it's just coming up on my phone, so this should hopefully allow me to start. So I'm going to... Now, it can recognise that it's got somebody there, so I can now press Open Poll. So what happens is on the board, it will have the question and the possible options that the pupils can choose from, but also on the pupil's phone, they'll have the same question and the same options, and they just click the button. And once I know that everyone has clicked their buttons, obviously it's just me, so it's 1 out of 1, I will stop it. And it will come up with how the class in general are feeling. It's all anonymous at this point, which is great because you can show everyone whether they are in the majority or whether they're not. That's up to you whether you want to show it. Because it's anonymous, I don't tend to have too much problem. I don't pause on it too long because really this question is more for me. I then go down to next poll. How are you feeling about being back at school? And I say to the class, you've got up to 3 words to use. So if I just put in a couple of words, and you can see how I'm feeling. Okay, so that's fine, and then I stop and it will automatically bring up the word cloud. As you can see, I'm feeling absolutely amazing and great. Anyway, so there it is, and that's it. So the next poll basically will shut this down because you've done it. That's all your questions. So if you go back to the main page that you created the poll on, it will now see that you have completed it, and you just have to go to data. It will show that you had 2 questions, 1 participant, and this is how they were feeling. And like I showed you earlier, you can download that data report and it will bring it all onto a spreadsheet for you. Please, please, please come and ask me if you want to be shown this live, because I appreciate that it might be a little bit complicated trying to explain it, but hopefully that's given you a bit of an insight into how to use Vevox. Good luck!